Hi, it's Nicole. I'm back from holiday, hope you are well. This is the annual mid-year review. As usual, I'd like to look back at the first half of the year and see how I've been doing with my goals, and share a favorite book from 2024 so far. You might have seen me setting my 2024 reading goals at the end of last year. There were 4 categories I planned to focus on: English classics, Shakespeare and his contemporaries, drama and poetry. The categories might sound problematic. There are a lot of overlaps. If you are interested in finding out why and how I decided on these categories, I'll link the video here, where I explained a little bit more my thought process. I created a new spreadsheet this year. In addition to the ones I already use, I have one for planning and tracking my reading progress, one for making notes as I read, and one for planning and making YouTube videos. I've been having fun looking through them in preparation for this video, so how have I been doing? I'm not doing too bad for the English classics category. In reverse chronological order of the publication dates, roughly, I read a modern classic called Mariana, a beautifully written comfort read from the English independent publisher Persephone, and a Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway, which is my favorite Woolf so far. For the Victorian period, I tried the Scottish writer George MacDonald, finally, and read the famous Phantaste, which had a tremendous influence on C.S. Lewis. I wanted to read Lewis Carroll's work again, which apparently had an influence on John Lennon's lyrics, so I listened to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland during a car journey. It was so weird and dreamlike, it kept putting me to sleep. When it started to put the driver to sleep as well, I thought this was too dangerous to continue, so we waited till we reached the destination. In terms of children's literature, I also read The Wind in the Willows. Between the two, The Wind in the Willows is more my cup of tea. I also read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley to see its influence on poor things. I talked about all these titles in my monthly wrap-up videos. Some of them are so interesting, I made standalone videos too. I'll link all of them in the description box. The 2 major titles from earlier periods I want to tackle this year are the Canterbury Tales and Paradise Lost. It's a relief to report that I have finished the Canterbury Tales. I read the Penguin Classics 2003 edition, translated by Neville Coggill. If you're interested but intimidated like I was, give it a go. Just read one tale at a time and don't worry too much about the rest. It's a lot easier than I expected and a lot more fun as well. For Shakespeare, my plan was obviously to continue reading his plays. I haven't completed my first round of reading all his works yet. My plan at the beginning of the year was to read Richard II, Henry IV Part 1 for history, King Lear for tragedy, The Merchant of Venice and Twelfth Night for comedy, and Cymbeline for romance by the end of the year. I planned 6 because I read 6 in 2023. The diet is more balanced than last year. I somehow ended up reading 6 tragedies last year. So far, I read Twelfth Night and watched the Globe 2012 production featuring Stephen Fry and the National Theatre 2017 production. The Globe 2012 has an all-male cast, which I guess might look quite similar to what it would have looked like in Shakespeare's time. Interestingly, all the actors are so excellent and strong, they outshine Viola a bit. It happens in both productions as well. I read Richard II and watched the Globe 2015 production and the BBC Hollow Crown episode again, featuring Ben Whishaw. The latest one I finished was Love's Labour's Lost. I didn't plan to read this, but I did before watching the brand new Royal Shakespeare Company production live last month in Stratford-upon-Avon, featuring Luke Thompson. The Globe 2009 production was lovely too. just thought Love's Labour's Lost is a bit obscure, but the Beatles in their early days would be perfect to play the roles of the four young men in this comedy. I loved watching them playing the rude mechanicals in Midsummer Night's Dream. Why did no one think of it? Among the three plays, my favourite story and protagonist is Richard II. I'm surprised by how much I've been enjoying the history plays. The most delightful theatre production is the 2012 Globe Twelfth Night. I had never seen an all-male cast before, and it was an eye-opening experience. I also watched a few plays that I have read in the last couple of years. It's wonderful and fascinating to watch the same stories but different productions with different actors and, more importantly, different interpretations with different time and geographical settings and designs. And watching the shows always helped me to get the stories and the characters better. I watched Globe 2013 The Tempest. I hadn't quite got The Tempest before this. I loved the cast, there were many memorable scenes, I learned the funny side as well as the tender side of the story. Then I watched Romeo and Juliet, done by Brunner Theatre in 2016, featuring Lily James. I read that Juliet is the real protagonist between the two, and she grows from a 14-year-old girl to a woman over the course of the play. I got that when I watched this production. Lily James has a little girl quality to her, and the fast progress of her maturity looks striking, but also convincing. I had always felt Romeo and Juliet over the top, but this production didn't feel like that, and I liked it very much. Then National Theatre's 2015 Hamlet suddenly became available for about 24 or 48 hours. I have wanted to watch this production for a long time, but had no access to it. It disappeared so fast that I only managed to watch about a third, but I'm still very happy I got to see a little bit of Benedict Cumberbatch playing the Prince of Denmark. I was also very fortunate to get to watch the 2021 Macbeth by Almeida Theatre featuring Saoirse Ronan. She's one of my favourite actors and she's an amazing Lady Macbeth. I've watched quite a few Macbeth by now. Saoirse Ronan's crumbling and madness was the most moving. I could see her putting up a fragile, brave front when Macbeth raves at the banquet, her loneliness when the marriage breaks, and her horror when the wife and children of Macduff are murdered. The stage design is very special too, especially the music. There's one cello player on stage to provide live music, and she sometimes plays a speaking role too. I've never seen that before. For non-fictional works, I've been reading Marjorie Garber's essays alongside each play. I find them very helpful. The audiobook for Shakespeare, The Man Who Pays the Rent by Judi Dench is excellent, way better than I expected. And 1599 by James Shapiro was one of my favourite books last year, so I read 1606, The Year of Lear by the same author. It's excellent too. Again, I talked about all of this in detail in monthly wrap-up videos. Links are in the description box. For Shakespeare's contemporaries, I read John Webster's The Duchess of Malfi and watched the Globe 2014 production in Wanamaker Candlelit Indoor Theatre. It was a wonderful production, and the Duchess as a character in the story blew me away. Like Juliet and Cleopatra and many other Shakespeare's female protagonists, Webster creates a very strong female character. For drama, I made little progress in this category. One of the goals of having a drama category is to try world literature. I haven't read any drama from other countries. I also haven't read as much poetry as I liked, but that seems always be the case. However, I'm pleased to get to know a few lesser known poets myself. I introduced them to you too. I read John Clare, a contemporary of Charles Lamb who cares deeply about the landscape and the nature of the English countryside. Sir Thomas Wyatt, the guy who brings the sonnet form of poetry into England and who is pretty bitter about his lovers and mistresses. And Aemilia Lanyer, who is an Elizabethan/Jacobean feminist, arguing her case from the creation account in Genesis as well as the rest of the Bible. My favorite book for the first half of 2024 is a bit different and probably unexpected. It is 1964, Eyes of the Storm, a book of photographs and writings by Paul McCartney. The photos were taken by Paul as the Beatles travelled for 3 months from the end of 1963 to February 64, beginning in Liverpool and London, then Paris, and during their first visit as a group to America, New York, Washington, and Miami. I received this as a gift. The card that came with it says, "Hope this present will help you to tell them apart better and can be a good substitute for missing the exhibition in London." I don't know what you are talking about by helping me to tell them apart. I always was able to tell them apart, obviously. But yes, I missed the opportunity to go to the photo exhibition in London in the National Portrait Gallery, I think. I wasn't a fan when the exhibition was on, but when I became a fan, it was closed. So a good friend gave me this instead. I can look at the photos again and again instead of only once in the gallery. The photos are of the cities as they travelled, the musicians and people they met and worked with, and the fans screaming and chasing after their car, and the journalists taking photos of them, smiling broadly as their photos been taken by Paul. Photos of John, George and Ringo, intimate and candid shots that the journalists and official photographers would never get. Them rehearsing in studios and on stage, swimming, hair plastered across their forehead, sleeping in the cars and on the planes, yawning late at night. I get to see things and people through Paul's eyes, literally. It's very special. So, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one.